Good evening. We'll call the Hawarden, Iowa City Council to order on Wednesday, November the 13th, 2019 at 5:33 p.m. Sorry for the late start. That's my fault. We're here to conduct the business of the city for the city of Hawarden. Number of places tonight for public input, obviously on open business from the community as general, and also there are two public hearings in regards to final disposition of public property. So those that are in attendance, we thank you for being with us. All council and staff are here, so we will begin the meeting with the standard agenda items. Number 1A, the approval of the October 23rd, 2019 City Council meeting minutes. As per usual, you've had those in your packets since Friday.
So moved.
There's been a motion by John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jen. Questions? Hearing none, then all in favor of the approval of the October 23rd, 2019 City Council meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. Next, we move on for claims for payment for the evening. I'll start to my left with Rob for questions, please.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Jen, any questions?
No questions.
Hey, John?
None, thank you.
Travis, questions?
None, thanks.
Tim?
None.
Hearing no questions, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the November 13th claims for payment.
So moved.
Moved by Jen. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Rob. Thank you. If there were no questions earlier, all in favor then of the claims for payment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain?
Passes 4 positive, 1 abstention, please. Any business from the community this evening? Okay, thank you. Short mayor's report tonight. Obviously, this week was Veterans Day. We've honored the veterans in our community and around the state and the nation. We are thankful for those folks that are provided their services to the armed services. And we are, secondly, we're really excited about West Sioux football. Who shouldn't be, going into the semifinals. We wish them the best of luck. And I was thinking about them today when I was driving on the road, and obviously we as a community can learn a lot from that team. They play as a team, they have a focus, they have a goal, they work hard. So our hopes for them are for victory on Saturday. So we'll move on to staff reports. We'll start with Jacob with monies, please.
Since our last meeting, I have completed the annual financial report and the urban renewal report. Both of them are on our council agenda for this evening for passing. In the future, we're looking at, I've got a budget workshop with Mike and myself tomorrow that we're going to go and look at the new guidance on the recent legislative changes, so that we can come back with some more insight on that, and then prepping for the end of the calendar year.
Great, thanks for keeping our numbers up. Travis, Department of Public Works, please.
I'd like to start with the Main Street Overlay Project. It's been postponed until spring with no change in the price. Knife River also agreed to come and patch a few spots that were left gravel. We were hoping that those would just get fixed with the project, and we didn't want to deal with them through the winter, so they were agreed to come fix those at no cost as well. We're looking at a no later than completion date of June 1st, 2020. This again will be weather permitted, but will be the first project on their list. Also, check out the new LED Christmas wreaths. They were installed on Main Street today. This was needed as we move forward with the new lights and poles. The old wreaths were larger and heavier, and they were starting to fall apart. I'd like to thank the Hawarden Community Foundation grant for making that possible. The wastewater project remains on schedule. Had a few minor changes that have been needed. One example was the ground at the footings for the UV building had to be dug much deeper to get to firm ground, so extra fill was needed to be brought in and compacted to standard. The total change order was $8,391, and this will be formally brought to the council for approval on item 12 for tonight. Last but not least, the fall phase of the transmission line's been completed. A new switch will be installed and energizing of the line will be completed this spring after Northwest REC completes their work at the substation. There's no timeline that's been announced for the final work, but it'll be coordinated between NIPCO, Northwest REC, and the city. So sometime this spring, we'll be able to finish it up and energize that line.
Has that crew that's been working on that transmission line, are they now,
They're wrapping up. They took some equipment home today, and they've got some more that they'll be moving out.
okay?
Yep. They were really good. It's Watts Electric. They've done a lot of work for NIPCO, and they're going to be doing the work for NIPCO and the REC this spring. So they'll
So
they'll
we'll see
know.
'em again.
See them again.
Yeah, they've been in just my personal dealings, seeing them, at the cafe or somewhere having lunch or what have you. Very, very kind, very polite. Mentioned to them that ever since they got here, the weather tanked. I mean, they had unbearable weather
Yeah.
conditions to work in.
Well, they're leaving, so maybe it'll warm up.
And I'm not blaming them for the weather, but you'd see them out there in sleet
Right, in
and
the
snow
rain and wind.
darkness, and we're really pleased that that project's been done safely, too. When you're working with those types of poles and right along the highway, people might not be slowing down for you, and so that's a great project.
Yep, it's a tough job.
Good. Well, give them our thanks when you see them, and maybe we can get them lunch or something before they all get out of here. Mike DeBryan.
Just a little clarification on our revitalization district. We had to send letters out to all the property owners. There's been a lot of questions on that. So I just want to clear it up for everybody in the community that creating this revitalization area does not impact their current property, their property taxes, or anything like that. Basically, it's going to create an incentive if they want to build a new house, a new commercial building, or a new industrial building, or multifamily residential. So anybody that's currently in their home, it's not going to raise your taxes, it's not going to do anything like that. It's basically offering an incentive for people who build new. We've been looking at the computers throughout the city. Most of our computers have Windows 7 installed on them. Don't know if anybody's heard, but Windows 7 will no longer be supported by Microsoft by the end of the year. So we did a computer inventory, and we're trying to prioritize those. We are replacing some of the main ones that have, the financial information, the customer information, and things like that, because although they'll work, there's not security updates or anything being pushed out. Leaves them more vulnerable to attacks. So I think we had 13 of them altogether that had Windows 7 that cannot be updated. So we're going to work over the next year on moving some of those out and replacing them. And then due to a posting issue, the planning session we put off until December 11th. So that's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Pickner, anything from City Attorney?
Nope, everything's going fine.
We'd love to hear that. That's great.
You say it.
Corey, Chief of Police, please.
Just like to let everybody know that both of our full-time officers, Ryan LaRocco and Ethan Druin, successfully completed the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy. I believe they finished with 98% and 95% overall, so it's nice to see that they paid attention and are going to bring that skill set to us and hopefully do great things with us.
Along with that regard, then we'd invite the citizens when they do interact with them at a local establishment, or if they get pulled over or something, to give them their best regards and
Yes,
congratulatories.
yes. Yes, great job.
Not that that's going to,
It doesn't sway one way or another.
doesn't sway one way, not saying that.
They appreciate it.
I'm just saying, give them our congratulations.
Yes.
Okay. Larry, I know Kim's father passed away. Our sympathies to you and Kim and her family down in Kansas with his passing.
Thank you, and also thank you to the council and also the staff. They've been very helpful in allowing us to kind of be down there and be with family and helping things out, and my wife really appreciates it, so I wanted to let you guys all know that.
Thank
And going to the report, as usual, a lot of meetings. We had our CEO and GM meeting. That's where we bring all of our manufacturers together, or at least our largest ones, to meet. Had that meeting here in the past week. The standard Hawarden Vision, Hawarden Development meetings that we normally go to on a monthly basis. We continue to work with our prospects, also our business retention expansion program, and a few startups, and those continue. We are still continuing our outreach, continued reaching out to them multiple times, business owners in downtown to become part of the facade program. And then we also met with the Sioux County, both Mike and I met with the Sioux County Habitat for Humanity Board, and I've actually joined that board representing the city of Hawarden. We're working with West Sioux School District, one of their video production and communication classes, to do a citywide video development to kind of feature the city of Hawarden. So more news on that as that progresses and the students work on that. We also convened our first complete count committee, which is the census program that we're working on. We do have our second one scheduled for December the 3rd at 4 o'clock at the Hawarden Library, and that will hopefully encourage all of our citizens to participate in the upcoming census. And that is it.
Thank you. I failed to mention in my report that obviously we had elections, and we thank those folks that took the time to vote. John and Travis, we thank you again for wishing to be on the council. Did we have an update on the hospital? Do we know who's filling those positions?
I do not have official word on that one yet, on the write-in one.
Do council members have any questions for staff and their reports, or any comments to give before we move on?
How is the status of the facade grant? Are we on schedule or still working to get there?
We are still on schedule. The grant will not go in until next year, but what we're trying to do is button up before the end of this year, make sure we have enough participants. If we don't, right now we're concentrating on Central Avenue, and then if not, we can expand that. The state does like to see a more concentrated effort, so more we can concentrate it, better we're going to look in competition with the other entities or other cities or entities that may be applying. But we're going to try to wrap things up by the end of the year, one way or another, on how many individuals we're going to have going forward in the grant application. So, Mike, do you have anything you would want to add?
No, they prefer like 10 to 14 applicants. Right now, we have six
applicants.
Six applicants. So Larry and some others are going to do a push to get us up to that 10 level. It'd be nice if we had more than that, but to show favorably on the grant, we need, probably a minimum of 10 applicants.
And from that program that was offered, it's a very beneficial programming for the business owner themselves. So
Yes.
hope we can get more involved with that.
Yeah, for those that are listening, the way we're applying for it, it could cover up to 75% of the cost of any facade improvement. So if there are any businesses listening tonight that are in the downtown area facing Central, it is a nice way to get your storefront renovated and have, the grant and other partners pick up to 75% of the cost.
Anything else from council? Okay, we'll move on then to other agenda items. Number 3A, this is a public hearing regarding the final disposition of public real property. Do you want to give us an overview before we go into the public hearing, please?
Both Maria Curiel Andrade and Ron Yackel and Sue Gant have expressed an interest in a section of alley that is right in between their property. They each want to buy half of the alley. We have published it and have gotten no comments.
Okay, I will open up the public hearing. Anyone wish to give the council and staff any opinion at this point? And you mentioned earlier that we have not gotten any opinions or
There's been no
Concerns
written
from-
or oral comments.
anything from council during the public hearing. I'll close the public hearing, which then leads us to the Resolution 2019-50. This then is authorizing the final disposition of the real estate to sell the north half of the vacated to Ron and Sue, owners of Lot 6, and sell the south half of the vacated alley to Maria Andrade, the owner of Lot number 5. Is there a motion for Resolution 2019-50?
So moved.
Been moved by Travis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by John. Any questions? Hearing none, we will call then for a roll call vote, please, for Resolution 2019-50.
Olson,
Aye.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Clucky,
Aye.
Kurth.
On a 5-0 roll call vote, Resolution 2019-50 passes. Agenda item number 4, starting with a public hearing regarding final disposition of public real property. An overview again for this, for the folks that are hearing.
For the last couple of years, John and Brenda Milroy have been wanting to put in a garage in their backyard. The only way to get through that is through a plotted but unplanned or designed street that we own the property of. They're wishing to have a easement through there so they can construct a driveway on the plotted street property to access their garage in the backyard.
I'd open up the public hearing in that regard for this piece of easement property. Any comments from council or staff or the public? Again, did we hear anything sent to the city offices in regards to this for this public hearing?
No, nothing.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing, which then leads us to the resolution of 2019-51, authorizing the final disposition, granting the easement and so forth, as Mike just visited about. Is there a motion for the resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Rob. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Questions about this? Hearing none, a roll call vote, please, for Resolution 2019-51.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
Clucky,
Aye.
Kurth. Olson.
Aye.
On a 5-0 roll call vote, Resolution 2019-51 passes. Again, John and Brenda, thanks for keeping that up all these years also. We appreciate those efforts. We'll move to agenda item number 5, presentation and approval of the fiscal year 2019 annual financial report.
This is our annual financial report. We're required to put down how much money we received, what we did with the money. This year, our report shows that we did, our revenues did exceed expenses by about $177,794. With this report, it does include the hospital as an entity of the city, just as we do in our budgeting and our everything else we do. So, you know, that number kind of fluctuates a little more than I think it would if it was just us, either way. So, my thanks to Jacob for preparing the report this year.
Do the council have questions in regards to the annual financial report? Voice vote sufficient for this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 2019 annual financial report?
So moved.
Moved by Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor then of the annual financial report for fiscal year 2019, say aye.
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 Those opposed? That passes 5-0. And Jacob, again, thanks for your financial work with that. We move now to agenda item number 6, approval of the fiscal year 2019 annual urban renewal report.
So this too is another state report we have to do every year about this time and have it approved. Basically, since we have applied for TIF money and spent it in our urban renewal areas, we have to basically let the state know what we did with our money. There's a lot of forms that are associated with this, but some of it's repetitive. But basically, it's the TIF money we took in and how we spent it in our urban renewal areas.
Council have any questions of Jacob or Mike with this? I'd entertain a motion for the fiscal year 2019 annual urban renewal report.
So moved.
Moved by Travis,
Second.
seconded by John. Thank you. All in favor of the approval of the annual urban renewal report, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes again 5-0 unanimously. Agenda item number 7, this is a first reading of ordinance 718, amending the Code of Ordinances designating the south side of Oak Hill Drive as a no parking zone. Give us a little bit of background, if you would, Corey. I know we discussed this at a meeting or two ago.
Yeah, so basically, the Oak Hill Drive is an east-west road. It has all sorts of challenges to it with the Empire Apartments right there. We have a lot of parking on both the north and the south side, and the street's very narrow the way that it is. We did experience a fire call at the nursing home, and during that time, between all the fire trucks and the buses that we use to try to transport the residents out of there, it was very difficult to make it up and down that street. Talking to Travis and some other individuals, we decided it would be best if we closed down one side of the parking, so that way a bigger portion of that roadway would be open for emergency situations. I also know there's been other times that larger vehicles have had issues making it up that street. I know last winter we had a semi that we had to get the loader to come and help them get up the hill and put down a bunch of sand just so they could make it up the hill because it was so icy. So I think it's definitely a change, and people don't like change sometimes, but there's underlying conditions that come with this one, and it's a benefit for everybody, in my opinion.
Most of those folks that park on both sides, are they obviously residents of apartments there?
Yes.
Will the apartment, will they be able to do some other adequate off-street parking for those folks?
I know they have some garages and stuff to the south of the building itself. I don't know exactly what residents have different parking in the back there. Looking at it from the number of vehicles that are parked there, the street should be large enough to house the vehicles that are parked on there currently. And it was our idea to open up the parking to the north side, as we believe in the wintertime it's easier for those vehicles to come down the hill and then use the curb as a stopping point as opposed to try to come up the hill, so we have a larger area for people to park.
Council have any other questions for Corey before we address this?
Is there a need to alternate sides for snow removal, or is one side?
For snow removal, the same rules would apply. The whole city is considered
Off-street?
Yep,
No.
so they'd have to remove everything off there. And they've been good about it in the past. I haven't had any complaints up there. They usually just park in the front yard of those north-facing apartments. So I would anticipate they'd continue to do the same thing.
And I can tell you, I've talked to the businesses in that area, the two major ones, and they, from a previous discussion, Oak Hill is very interested in this, and I talked to Plasticology last week, and he is also very interested in it. So.
Okay. Is there a motion for the first reading of ordinance 718?
Well, I guess maybe one question.
Yep.
Was there a specific reason for the south side being no parking, with that being the side of the housing?
Yes, in the wintertime, it gets to be very icy, and I want to be
Slides.
able to use as much of that street side for them to park. You watch some of these vehicles that aren't equipped to make it up that hill, they make it up a quarter of the way, and then they're forced to park there. I'm trying to avoid them coming down the hill and parking against the flow of traffic, which is illegal. This way, if it is inclement weather, they can come down that hill and park in accordance to where they reside.
Thanks for that clarification.
So moved.
Been a motion by Travis, a second by Tim. Any other questions? Roll call vote then for the first reading of ordinance 718.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Clunky,
Aye.
Kurth,
Aye.
Bergsma.
Aye.
Must be all out of ayes, so it passes 5-0. Then, thank you. And thanks for the conversation and the feedback in regards to this ordinance. We appreciate that very much. Agenda item number 8, Resolution 2019-52, obligating funds from the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation to the payment annual appropriation tax increment finance obligations to ISMA Properties LLC, which come due in June of 2021. Overview of this for us, please.
Once again, to collect TIF revenues, we have to create debt. This allows us to do an internal loan of the 3136 out of our electric to create the TIF debt to repay the ISBA rebate, in which we voted on last year to do a 5-year rebate sliding scale for ISBA's commercial truck building.
Is there a motion for Resolution 2019-52?
So moved.
Moved by Jen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. This being a resolution, again, we need a roll call vote for Resolution 2019-52.
Kurth,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Clunky,
Aye.
Feldhacker.
Aye.
On a 5-0 roll call vote, Resolution 2019-52 passes. Resolution 2019-53 is agenda item number 9, authorizing an internal advance to the Tax Increment Revenue Fund, both TIF A and A amend.
In creating this debt, this is used to pay towards the economic development position and the marketing for that position. We amended our urban renewal plan last year to allow this, since we have to borrow this money or create this debt each year. We'll have this resolution for the next 4 years after this year.
Are there questions about this resolution? I hear none. I'd entertain a motion for the Resolution 2019-53.
So moved.
Moved by Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Again, a roll call vote, please, for Resolution 2019-53.
Clunky,
Aye.
Kurth,
Aye.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
and Bergsma.
Aye.
On a 5-0 roll call vote, Resolution 2019-53 passes. We're going to resolve some more in agenda item number 10, Resolution 2019-54, amending the resolution authorizing and approving a sewer revenue loan and disbursement agreement and providing for the issuance and securing the payment of $3,510,000 in sewer revenue bonds.
So we've already had this resolution, except for the bonds were tax exempt. What Dorsey Whitney found out, that when we signed our agreement with PIFA, allowing them to go out into the open market and secure bonding for the purchase of natural gas, this put us over our $10 million limit. Every city is allowed to issue $10 million in tax-exempt bonds per year. Well, this put us over that. Even though we were in the larger group with PIFA, they still got credited towards us as well. So they had to go get a hold of the Iowa Finance Authority and see if we could change these to taxable bonds, which the interest that the Iowa Finance Authority collects is taxable. Basically, on the open market, if you go through anybody but Iowa Finance Authority, you're going to get a higher interest rate on taxable bonds than tax-free bonds. But with the Iowa Finance Authority, it makes no difference to them. So they just had to switch our $3.15 million, or $3.51 million from tax exempt to taxable.
So moved.
It's been moved by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tim. Any clarification other than that needed? Roll call vote, please. Resolution 2019-54.
Feldhacker.
Aye.
Bergsma.
Aye.
Clucky.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
And Kurth.
Aye.
On a 5-0 roll call vote, Resolution 2019-54 passes. This moves us to agenda item number 11, approval of the second pay request for Hogadoran Construction for the wastewater improvement project.
Hogadoran continues to work, and they need to pay their subs, and so they're requesting a pay request of $190,418. Once it's approved by the council, we send it into the Iowa Finance Authority, and they send us the money to pay them.
Is there a motion for the approval of the second pay request? So moved. Moved by Tim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jen. All in favor of the second pay request from Hogadoran Construction, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. They'll be happy. Lastly, we're getting to an approval of a change order request now, number 1, for Hogadoran Construction in regards to the wastewater improvement project.
This will be their first change order, thus the number 1 for Hawarden Construction. Most of these costs come from the UV building that Travis alluded to. Back when they built it years ago or filled in a lot of that ground, they used cheap fill that didn't pack real well. So, and you don't know that till you dig, so they had to dig a lot deeper and then put solid fill in. So that was the gist of it. There's a couple other change orders in there that I think one of them reduced the price and one of them increased the price, but overall, it's well within our contingency funds, and DGR does watch those really close. There was 2 other ones that were requested that we had conversations with DGR on that we did not go with. They just felt they weren't necessary, so they're watched pretty close.
That's what I was going to mention. It looks like to us that DGR's signed off on
Yes.
the right thing to do, so to speak. Okay. Is there a motion for approval of the change order request number 1 for Hogadoran Construction, Inc.?
So moved.
Moved by Jen. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Rob. All in favor then of that change order, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. We now have no consent agenda items this evening. Our next regular meeting, obviously we won't meet twice this month because of the holiday and Thanksgiving. So our next regular stated meeting will be December the 11th. As Mike mentioned earlier, we will have a planning session then following that. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
We just warmed up, didn't
Yeah.
we, Jen? That's a motion for adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. As the mayor and staff, I thank everyone for their attendance. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hawarden City Council is now adjourned.